Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to Outpatient Occupational Therapy. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but I'm going to try anyways. I hope I'm not lagging for anybody. As you're coming in, say hello. Let me know that you are here and what practice setting you are tuning in from. Remember, all of these videos get put on YouTube as well for reference later. And the upcoming applied kinesiology class this week on Wednesday evening from 6 to 6:30, that will always be some kind of lesson or some kind of live Zoom video in the bot Zoom room at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. So whether or not we're teaching a class, we'll always have some kind of gathering for occupational therapy practitioners. This week we are learning forces. Contact force, gravity, and fluid force, and how that relates to your OT treatments. So today I am popping on, I'm waiting for my video to load. And so I figured I would jump on here and talk to you about posture and body mechanics. One of the biggest things I see in every single place setting is this desire, this like burning desire for occupational therapy practitioners to put a dynamic activity in someone's hand. I don't know what this is about. Physical therapists, if we're doing a co-treatment, they immediately will say, oh, did you want to grab your cones or get the deck of cards, and you can do that, and then we'll help with standing and sitting or whatever it is. And I think to myself, what is it that people think that just because the OT is present, we somehow need to grab a cone or a clothespin, or we can't do a co-treatment that's based in science? I don't know what that is. But when you are working, co-treat or not, when you are working with an individual who cannot hold their body against gravity, that's static sitting, that's dynamic sitting, that's static standing, where your feet are uniform and you're not stepping or weight shifting outside of your base of support in any way. If you cannot do those three things, then you cannot have somebody stand and use bilateral upper extremities in a treatment. You can't possibly effectively get any kind of treatment return when that individual is literally like slouched over a walker or a table, just trying to keep themselves up over the weight of gravity. OT's role is functional mobility, which means we restore and remediate function. So we need to be advocating that, especially in co-treatments, right? That is not an effective use of our skill set to say, well, I'm going to work on holding their trunk and doing, leg positioning, and I'm going to work on all of their mobility. And then how about you stand in front of them and hand them cards or hand the cone, do that. That's what people equate. OT with. And that's a problem, because we need to be advocating for posture. Say, listen, it's contraindicated. It is not indicated for me to stand here and give somebody cones or have them do something with their upper extremities when they can't even sit up against the weight of gravity. That is not good for me to do, because I learned the spine, I learned the muscles, I learned postural support, I learned physics as well. And therefore, my role here is to have them be able to use visual feedback, just simply staring at themselves in the mirror and adjusting their posture for 30 seconds, maybe 30 seconds times 8 repetitions, so that we can work on their postural alignment and their erector spinae muscles, right? All of those muscles that keep the head up to prevent kyphosis, right? To prevent like forward head, right? And then their neck actually like collapsing into head flexion. We see that with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. If we are not if they're not able to use that lever, right, that first class lever, if that's not functioning appropriately, how in the world are you going to achieve effective upper body mobility when they can't even withstand one of the first and largest external forces against the body? Our role in PEO, our PEO model, right? Environmental factors. This isn't just home assessments. This isn't just measuring our that's also our role, but the external portion of PEO is external force, which is physics, right? We are not just like, we're science. We have to maintain that. And so what's that factor? It's body mechanics, it's force, right? So when you have an individual who dynamic standing, right? We automatically in dynamic standing, I see all of these students come out and all of these practitioners come out and they immediately think, well, I have to have them doing something. I'm going to give them a deck of cards and I'm going to have them sort the cards while standing because that's an activity. So therefore it must be OT. But OT has nothing to do with the activity. OT has nothing to do with the treatment activity you choose to do. It has everything to do with the meaningful activity, which is an occupation. Occupational therapy is not a treatment activity. And I think that's where we kind of get confused because we equate good OT with a fun treatment activity. When it has nothing to do with what you're doing in treatment, it has everything to do with the final product, which is the meaningful activity or occupation, right, of your client. It's nothing to do with, in order for me to call it OT, I have to be doing some kind of activity, because that's not it. You can have exercise, you can use exercise science, you can do therapeutic exercise, right? Therapeutic exercise, that's a whole lane. Biomechanics, that's a whole lane for OT. You can do neuromuscular reeducation, which is also a whole lane with like 12 different models of practice underneath neuromuscular education. Manual therapy, right, falls in between both. If you think about neuromuscular reeducation or neuromuscular massage, right, working with trigger points, helping someone with chronic pain. Therapeutic activity is also called kinetic activity, which is movement-based activity. It does not mean that, oh, I'm OT, let me just reach in the cupboard and pull down cups for an entire treatment session. That's not what that means. Kinetic movement-based activity, which is what the code is, has nothing to do with the type of activity you choose, but the fact that you're using this science of movement to accomplish your end result. So instead of doing just a rote exercise, which we also do, instead of just doing a rote exercise, we're now going to combine all of our rote exercises into a kinetic-based activity, which leads to, right, the perfection of performance skills into that occupation-based activity. But you can't go right into occupation if you haven't mastered the fundamentals of body function and structure, or you are not doing anything for your client. You run the risk of injury. So if we're trying to get someone's balance back, or if we're trying to achieve any kind of remediation or restoration, and that person can literally not sit on a chair without doing this or without doing this, well, that's like a problem. We can't give someone anything to do with their hands until they can correct that. After they've gotten stronger with their postural muscles, their postural support muscles, at that point, maybe we can do some dynamic sitting, get them on a Dynadisc, get them, reaching for things outside of their base of support. At that point, let's do static standing. Let's resist the weight of gravity while standing without rounding our shoulders and dropping our head, right? If someone is standing like this, and after 4 minutes, they're like down here, well, we're not going to prop them up with an activity while standing and call that dynamic standing activity when their body mechanics are saying, wow, I'm still at a seated level, and therefore I'm not going to be able to stand at my sink and do any kind of grooming. Therefore, I'm not going to be able to go home safely and do all of my IDL cooking, right, for myself if I'm not even like able to do this. I'm not going to be able to go home and walk my dog independently. Certainly not, because I'm going to get 3 houses down and like I'm going to basically kind of like be on the sidewalk, right? So if we think about all of these occupations that you need postural support for, we know that we have to start from the ground up. We cannot just jump into a dynamic activity unless their body mechanics are fantastic. If we're trying to remediate stairs and they can't sit to stand off of a seat, right? If they can't even independently move from sit to stand with good body mechanics, which means no genu valgum, no genu varum, it means that their ankles, right, aren't pronating or supinating. If they can't even effectively do the body mechanics of a sit to stand, how in the world are they going to be able to go home and do 12 stairs? Well, we're certainly not going to say, just don't go up and down the stairs, because as OTs and the environment, we know reducing their life space is a critical problem, and that's actually a detriment to their health. So we would never reduce their life space as OTs, because the research contraindicates that for long-term independence. Instead, we're going to use neuromuscular reeducation and therapeutic exercise, along with our knowledge of body mechanics, right, to get them through a continuum to be able to eventually go up and down their stairs, which is an ADL, which is what OT does, efficiently and safely. Okay, so that's that. Remember our body mechanics. Remember postural alignment. It's all OT. Remember, OT, not treatment activity. It has nothing to do with the treatment activity. Nothing to do with the treatment activity. It has everything to do with the meaningful activity that is the occupation. Not. The two are not the same. Okay, that's it. Have a great day. I will be seeing you tomorrow in class at 6 p.m., where we will learn about center of gravity and why we should leave our durable medical equipment at the door and use therapeutic use of self instead of having our patients use DME. Goodbye.